Okay, so the unit circle has all these special angles on it. Okay, so the angle pattern will go like this in chunks of 30, 45, 60, and 90. Okay, and when I talk about that, that's a reference amount. Okay, so here's what I'm going to get you to do. I know that some of you will want to go around the clock this way, but I'm going to teach you about reference angles because everything always goes back to a reference angle. Okay, so let's go the 4 quadrants first here. So give me a 0 degree. Give me a 30 degree at the, oh, what am I doing? 90 degree at the top. Okay. The other sideline we know is 180. The very bottom, 270. Finalized at 360. Okay, there's another line beside there, and that's because in grade 12, we have to go from degrees to radians and different measurements. So that's why that's there, so not this year. Okay, so now the next in the pattern is 30. So what I'm going to get you to do is go 0 in. So 0 plus 30. 30 less than 180. What's 30 less than 180? 150. 30 more than 180. 210. By the way, you have to do this without your calculator when you're at. And 360 minus 30. Okay. So the 30 degrees off the x-axis is important. Now 45 off the x-axis is important. So 45 less than 180 is 135. 45 more than 180 is 225. And 45 less than 360 is 315. Good? Okay, so now 60 degrees is another important one. So if I'm 60 degrees connected to this x-axis, 60. 60 less than 180, 120. 60 more, 240. 60 less than 360, 300. Okay, so you have to have all those angles. Okay, in degrees, it's not so bad. You can probably figure the pattern out just going around. Okay, there's always 30 degrees here, 15, 15, 30. That's how it always splits. Okay, but in grade 12, when we talk about radians, you're going to want to do these 4, these 4, these 4. Okay, but in degrees, it's not so bad to go around. Okay, move 30, move 15, move 15, move 30. Move 30, 15, 15, 30. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, well, what is this unit circle? Why is it called the unit circle? Maybe for a candy today, anybody want to guess? Ivan has a guess for a candy. It's a circle with units on it, okay? Not quite the answer that we're looking for. Something we know about circles have this in them. And the unit circle. Nobody else wants to take a random guess for a candy? Okay, it's called a unit circle because it has a radius of 1 unit. That's why it's called that. So close, Ivan. It's a circle with a radius of 1 unit length. Okay, so now kind of do you see why it's called the unit circle? Okay, so we're going to go to the 4 quadrants. So if this radius is 1, what is this coordinate on a coordinate plane? 1, 0. What's the top coordinate? Should you write 0, 1? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To the left, if I'm left a unit, then I'm -1, 0. And at the bottom, if I'm down a unit, the coordinate is 0, -1. Okay, so now everything's going to follow a pattern. So here's how the pattern can start. Root 0 over 2, root 1 over 2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, root 4 over 2. Okay, do you see why I'm getting a pattern out of that? The tops are just increasing, and it's always over 2. But here's the thing. Root 0 over 2 can be simplified to just say 0. The square root of 1 over 2 can also be simplified because the square root of 1 is 1. So I can just call that 1/2. The square root of 2 over 2 cannot simplify because I can't do anything with a root 2. There's nothing to do. Root 3, can't do anything with a root 3. And this one I could do stuff because what's the square root of 4? 2. And what's 2 divided by 2? 1. So here are all the numbers that it will ever show on your unit circle. Okay, now we need to talk about coordinates. Every time you see a coordinate in quadrant 1, its values should be positive and positive. If you're looking at a coordinate in 2, your quadrant 2 coordinates are going to be negative and then positive, right? Can you finish that out? So that is another graphing concept you're going to keep in mind. Okay, I gotta zoom out to get this idea in here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move coordinates. I'm gonna start my X. So here's what I'm gonna do. These coordinates, would you agree that they line up on the X-axis right there? The same. They're the same as each other. Then if I move to the next, these are also the same X values. And then the same X values right here. So the X values are going from here to here to here and then 1. Okay, so I'm going to focus on these X values. Okay, so if you could put your eyes up for a second without writing. Here's what I do. This is how I grade your paper. I use my fingers. Okay, so here's the X value 0. So if I move over, these two coordinates should have an X value of 1/2. Then these two should have the X value root 2 over 2. Then these root 3 over 2. And then the final X is 1. Do you see how that goes? Right, right, right. So move 1/2, 1/2. That's the next increase in X. Then root 2 over 2. Root 2 over 2 is the next partners. Then the next right move would make a root 3 over 2 because I got to keep increasing. And then I land on the last of the sequence, 1. Okay, so I'm going to do this the other way. So again, can you not write and just watch my fingers? So here's 0. So my first move to the left, what will this be? Negative 1/2. Then I'm going to move negative root 2 over 2, negative root 3 over 2, negative 1. Okay, so follow that X pattern. So remember the partnerships, like these two are the same x values, right? If I could place them on the x-axis, they both have a negative 1/2. Okay? Then we just do the same thing with the y. So what does that look like? So now I'm going to look like this with my fingers. I'm going to start a height of 0. And then I'm going to go up, 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 up. So the pattern goes, well, 0. So what's the next height going to be? A half, because every time they have partners, right? Next, root 2 over 2. Next set, both have a root 3 over 2 height. Last pattern should have a 1 height. And then finally, just do that again. Go down, 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 down. So negative 1/2. Negative root 2 over 2, negative root 3 over 2, negative 1. Okay, so this is, again, kind of how I grade your test. I kind of have my finger. So these two coordinates again, I need to zoom out. These two coordinates, x value 0. Moving to the right, these two have a 1/2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, 1. Same backtracking. See what I'm doing? Okay, height-wise, these both have a 1/2. Root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, final height 1. Okay? Let's make some other connectors here. So this was important to understand, so we better check when our answers, make sure that is. Also, could we say, in the pattern, the 0s and the 1s are always together, right? And did you notice that the 1/2 and the root 3 over 2s were also always together? And the root 2 over 2 numbers were with itself. See, the 1/2 and the root 3's over 2's are always together. So there's another idea we can connect. Okay, I'm just going to show you how people write this wrong. Why would I tell this person they are wrong? Square rooting a negative, so make sure what? That's out front. That's the wrong way. That's the correct way to write it. And what's wrong with this person's way of writing? You're square rooting both things. Okay, I only want the square root of 3. So the 2 can't be in it as well.